Hello, my name is Jessica Kobalinski with Honestly, and I'm going to let you introduce yourself.
My name is Dr. Ronell Matthews, also with Honestly, and I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today.
So you have been with Honestly for a long time. You are definitely an expert in youth sexual health. Where do you hope to see Honestly growing and going in the next 5 years?
I want to say first that in the past 5 years, since I've been at Honestly, I have seen the organization grow tremendously. And I think that Honestly has really found its footing and its identity and its place and role in the community and in the collaboration in the past 5 years. So I just want to acknowledge that first. And then I would say in the next 5 years, maybe just continuing to grow in that direction. For example, one of the things that I really love is our training and capacity building program, Project Equip, where we're really providing training and workshops and growing and learning opportunities for our collaboration partners as well as our community. And I really love that, and I hope that we continue to grow because I see training and capacity building really as a way to start to shift the paradigm and shift the way that we talk about and think about sex education and sexual and reproductive health, and also to really shift the mental models for the ways that people think about sexual and reproductive health, and in particular, providing that information to youth and adolescents in our community, really understanding that providing them with adequate information only helps them. It does not mean that just because we provide them with the education that they're going to go out and engage in risky behaviors. And in fact, we know the opposite. If we provide them with adequate information, they make better decisions. And so really hoping to shift that paradigm, particularly here in Oklahoma, that providing information is good and not providing information is not so good. I'm hoping that we can shift that paradigm.
What are some specific things that Honestly does to move our community along in reducing the teen birth rate?
The very first time I ever heard of collective impact was when I came to work for Honestly. But when I looked at the model, I thought it was such a great model. It's very intuitive. It makes a lot of sense. It is just based on the premise that if we all work together and we all bring our tools to the table, we can make a big difference, more of a difference than we can make on our own. And so I think that what Honestly does is that we are sort of the facilitator or the convener. When you're making a list for the potluck and you say, you bring the potatoes and you bring the turkey. And so we go to everyone and we say, what is it that you have that you can bring to the table that will move the needle forward on reducing the teen birth rate? And we bring all those people together and we try to see how those pieces fit. We are a convener of partners, but we also introduce other partners to other people within our network who may be able to work well together.
So you brought, for lack of a better word, reproductive well-being model to Oklahoma City, and recently started convening your own learning cohort with community members in our area.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why you think reproductive well-being is a good model for Oklahoma County and the learning cohort that you're facilitating now.
So I really love the reproductive well-being model because I think it brings together so many different facets. It brings together reproductive health, reproductive justice, as well as collective impact, which we've already talked about, like how much I really like that model. And so we're bringing together right now 10 individuals, again, diverse individuals from across the spectrum. We have funders, we have a couple of clinicians, people with PhD level education in education. We have youth. We have a really, really diverse group of people who are bringing together to sort of replicate what we did with Power to Decide, which is let's have a shared definition of what reproductive well-being is and what that means for our community. Let's learn some things about diversity, equity, and inclusion together. And then let's talk about systems change and how to apply systems change, collective impact to improving reproductive well-being in our community.
I know at Honestly, we talk about often that equity is the foundation of a backbone organization or the foundation of collective impact. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
I think equity being the foundation really just means that the lens that we do everything through is through a lens of equity. And when I say that, I mean that before we build a program, before we release information on social media or through an email, we think about how does this impact the communities that we're reaching out to, who's being left out of the narrative, and make sure that we're including those people in the narrative. And then not only are we including them, but we're asking them, how do you want to be best represented in the narrative? Mm-hmm. And not just assuming that we know what's best. Again, it's really sort of that autonomy thing. It's really looking at and saying people have the right to have their voices heard. They have the right to build their own stories and their own narratives, and we should respect that. And when people tell us what they want or need, we should believe them, take those things into consideration. And I would even say, where possible, not speak for them, let them speak for themselves. So I think that it really is an opportunity. When we say everything is built on the foundation or through a lens of equity, it really is an opportunity to open up the conversation with our target audiences. And really, it's just, I always say, really equity, a lot of times, it really is just how to not be a bad person 101. That's not the word I usually use, but I'll just say that because we're, how to not be a bad person 101, how to be a good person. It's really just be kind, be respectful, really listen, and be willing and open to learn.
Why is collaboration so important?
I think collaboration is so important because no one person knows everything and no one person can do everything. Or no one organization can do everything. Nobody has all of the tools that are needed to really tackle complex issues. And so bringing people together, it really is like putting together a puzzle. I think that Honestly really does facilitate, and we really do convene. We're really good at that.
So what are some of the primary tips and tricks you give to caregivers in talking to the youth in their lives about sexual health?
I think one of the biggest things, particularly because we know a lot of caregivers did not receive adequate sex education themselves, is to, one, educate yourself and become more comfortable with the topics themselves, not even just having the conversation, but just with the topics that are included within sex education. And I would also say practice with a trusted friend and even role play those conversations, watch videos of other people having conversations, and then understand that it doesn't have to be just one conversation. There are so many teachable moments when you're in the car, you're listening to music, and maybe they say something that brings up something that you really want to talk to that youth in your life about. Use that as an opportunity to have that conversation, because it isn't just let's just sit down and have the talk. It's many talks. And so you don't have to get it all out or it in one setting. And also, if there's something that you're really truly just uncomfortable with, maybe you might want to find someone else that you trust, a professional or a friend, to have that conversation. Use your village, if you have one, to have those conversations. Use videos. I can't tell you how many videos that I've shown my children, and it's not to necessarily replace anything that I might say to them. It really is to open up the conversation. And maybe that person in that video is saying something that I don't necessarily know how to articulate or feel as comfortable saying, and then we can talk about it once we've watched the video.
So Dr. Matthews, you have spent most of your career around sexual health and reproductive well-being. Where does your passion come from?
I think, like a lot of people, my passion comes from personal experience. I really didn't have good sex education when I was younger, and that led to a lot of lessons learned in ways that I maybe wouldn't have wanted to learn those lessons. And so I think, to be honest, when I had my own children, I became even more passionate because I have 2 daughters, and I did not want them to have to learn the lessons that I learned in the ways in which I had to learn them. I wanted them to know and understand their own bodies. I wanted them to know and understand that they had the right to make decisions for their bodies. They had autonomy, and they had choices. I wanted them to know and understand a lot of the things that I didn't know until I was a lot older, and until I had a lot of different stumbling blocks and made a lot of mistakes. And so it really made me passionate, not only for my children, but for other people's children, because I know that if it was something that I'm missing, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone. And I just wanted to try to make things better for the next generation and the generation after that. So that's really what makes me passionate about sexual and reproductive health.